This is David Dubal, and I'm glad to have with me my friend and colleague Stanley Waldoff, who has, been my friend, more years than I can count anymore. Stanley received his musical training at the Juilliard School. He studied there with Martin Cannon and took his doctorate from Columbia University, and he's toured extensively. He has had quite a career, not only by himself, but we, Stanley, have done, to say the least, many concerts, many lecture recitals throughout the United States. We've made a few recordings together. You are now on the faculty of the University of Southern Mississippi at Hattiesburg, and you're in town to have a little fun, a little work, but also to hear our new recording. It just so happened that it coincided with your trip to New York. Our recording is called Invitation to the Waltz, Volume 1. We're going to make 2 volumes. And I thought we should hear some of it, especially since you're here in New York. One side is me playing, and one side is Stanley Waldoff. Stan, how are you?
Fine, thank you, David. I'm glad I got to town just in time for this to come out. And it was curious that I called you 2 days before I was due to come in, and you said, "Oh my goodness, the record just arrived." And I said, "Well, how is it?" You said, "I don't know, I haven't had a chance to hear it yet, but I'll call you back when I do hear it." And I said, "Well, never mind, because I'm going to be there in a few days, and I'll listen to it with you."
And we did, and it is, I think it's fun. There's lots of good tunes, and we may say that Schubert, Tchaikovsky, Satie, Glazunov, Liszt, Moszkowski, Henselt, who is he? We'll find out in a minute. Schulz-Evler, who is he? My goodness, you're doing some obscure waltzes, Stan.
Yeah, the master of obscurity. Yes, records are always very interesting, except when they're your own. Except that you and I have discussed this before, and I think we both feel the same way, that records are merely photographs.
Yes,
That moment in time.
it really is, and you can't live in despair over them because, for instance, I heard one waltz and I said, "Oh, but I don't play that in that tempo anymore. It's moved a different direction," and you have the same feeling, I'm sure. It is that photograph, but it's fun to learn the items, so to speak, and put them down in print.
Well, it's always nice, particularly to do things which people haven't done 50 or 60 times previous to you, that you're actually exploring and bringing forgotten literature, but certainly literature that deserves to be heard again.
Yeah.
They're charming and elegant and all those wonderful things that the romantic boys were.
Well, the waltz was the craze, and Musical Heritage Society is putting out these 2 volumes with us, and hopefully people will want to hear these. And tonight we're going to sample from this recording, Stan.
You want to give the number, by the way?
Well, I'll give the number later. I mean, I know that we make a fortune from royalties on this, and I know you want to make as much as possible, and we hope that everyone in the audience will buy one instantly.
Absolutely.
But be patient.
Okay.
We're going to play first the performance that I did on side 1, Band 8, of a waltz in E major, Opus 34, number 1, by a man born in Poland in 1854. He died in 1925. He didn't really have much money at the end, and there was once a big concert in Carnegie Hall, where many of the pianists here in New York donated their services, and they sent it to Moszkowski in Paris. And we don't really know his name much anymore, do we? But
no, not at all, except that he represented that era quite well.
Very well, and he is a charming melodist, and he enjoyed much success. And as we write in the liner notes, the Polish pianist, with his suave pianism and lilting melodies, encased in delightful figuration. So if you would like to listen to my performance...
I'd love it.
Okay. Of the Moszkowski E major waltz. Moskowski Waltz in E major, Opus 34, number 1, played by David Dubal. And this is a program of waltzes. Stanley Waldoff is my guest, and he is on side 2 of this new release on Musical Heritage, which has just come out this week. And Stanley Waldoff is in town, and so happens that we can be listening together. So I hope nobody minds that we're playing our album. Waltzes never go out of fashion. What did Mencken say, Stan?
Yeah, one of the great quotes, really, of all time. He wrote, let me quote this, if I can see it. "The waltz never quite goes out of fashion. It is always just around the corner. Every now and then it returns with a bang. The popular dances that come and go are too gross to be very dangerous to civilized human beings. They suggest drinking beer out of buckets. The most elemental good taste is proof enough against them. But the waltz, the waltz indeed. It is sneaking, insidious, disarming, lovely. It does its work, not like a college yell or an explosion in a munitions plant, but like the rustle of trees, the murmur of the sea, like the sweet gurgle of a pretty girl. The waltz, in fact, is magnificently improper. The art of tone turned lubricious."
Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful quote. He was quite a writer on music, Mencken. You know, there's a whole book now of his music criticism out.
Quite a man, quite a wit.
Yeah. Well, now I think you're able to give the number in case anyone wants to buy our recording.
It's MHS Stereo 7107H.
Oh, I love it. Say it again.
7107H.
Okay. Well, I think now the time has come for you to play from your side. What would you like to hear first?
I think we're going to probably hear a Schubert waltz, group of waltzes transcribed by Ignaz Friedman, the great pianist who I understand was born in 1884. Two. Sorry, gosh, you know these dates much better. I died in 1948. How's that?
Very good.
Okay.
You're not bad.
Okay. Let me read from the program notes about this waltz that we're going to do, called Alt Wien.
Old Vienna.
Right, by Franz Schubert, arranged by Ignaz Friedman. We've written, Friedman has taken a group of Schubert waltzes after the fashion of Liszt's Soirée de Vienna, giving them a more complex harmonic and pianistic setting. I think that's an understatement.
Yeah, there's one just delicious moment in this, which is totally Friedman, and it's just pianist. The layout of the pianism is so beautiful. You know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece. Why don't we hear it now?
Let's hear Stanley Waldoff in a performance of Alt Wien by Friedman, who is the transcriber here, Schubert, the composer. Ah, you have just heard Alt Wien, Old Vienna, a waltz that was dressed up, one can say, by Ignaz Friedman from the original Franz Schubert and the artist Stanley Waldoff. And this is from what?
Invitation to the Waltz, Volume 1, new release that's just come out from Musical Heritage Society. We're going to hear something very delicious from you next. A little Satie waltz that you know happens to be one of my favorite things.
A true cafe waltz. What is it called?
Je te veux.
It's a wonderful, wonderful waltz.
I bet that's wrong. My French cousin Bianca's going to be very annoyed at me.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what does it mean? That's not easy to translate that, actually, is it? Like I see you?
I know valse. Yes, a valse pour le piano. We know what that means.
Well, the main thing is that it is a waltz.
Right.
And this is a waltz album. And let me see. I'm going to make some noise here. Schubert, 3 waltzes I've recorded. Tchaikovsky, Satie, Glazunov, a wonderful piece. Liszt's Valse Oubliée, and the Moskowski, which we heard. And you have that fantastic piece called Concert Arabesques on Themes by the Beautiful Blue Danube by Johann Strauss, as you call him, the Younger.
The Younger.
Now, we're going to hear the Satie. It was written around 1901. It was first composed as a song, and then later on he transcribed it for the piano. I like it better as a piano piece. It is not at all known, you know, this piece.
The French waltz is also slower, right?
Yes, it's a slower, more languid waltz, and this certainly has the music hall flavor also. Turn of the century, Paris, very evocative.
Let's hear it now.
Let's hear it. You have just heard a waltz written 1901 by Eric Satie, and the pianist, well, that's me. The pianist in this recording is actually David Dubal, and I am with my friend and colleague Stanley Waldoff, and we're listening to our waltz record with you, at least some of the selections. And Stan, if you don't mind, I'll be right back after these messages. Stanley Waldoff is my guest tonight, and we are listening to various waltzes from our new musical heritage album called Invitation to the Waltz, Volume 1. We have done only Volume 1. We'll do Volume 2. We're learning the pieces now, correct?
Hopefully.
What are you working on for Volume 2?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, and I don't want to let you know. We have done several recordings together. Really, they started out being based on our lecture recitals, The Piano in America,
And Music of the Romantic Pianist Composer.
Yeah.
We did 2 of those, Volumes 1 and 2. Some very interesting stuff on those.
We've had a lot of fun doing them, and we've had a lot of varied audiences in different places. And so we've continued doing these albums, and in fact, in all cases, they're all solo piano, and one side is me and one side is you. And we get in a lot of repertoire that way. The pieces I don't necessarily want to learn, you do, and vice versa. So we get really a big amount of repertoire in the few records we've done with them.
We also always have a theme to the records.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're never just random pieces.
Well, you know I'm a programmer at heart.
I would hope so.
A born programmer.
I would hope so.
Stan, are you coming to the Busoni Foundation Festival, which is going to be on April 21st, 1985, 7 o'clock to 10? Do you know anything about it? Will you be in town?
No, I won't be in town, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be, because I understand that you've put together a spectacular program in which you were going to do some lecturing about Busoni, and you were going to hear a variety of Busoni works.
Yes, and I haven't put it together. I've just been part of it.
Never say that. When I say you put it together, just accept it.
No, I did program it, but certainly I didn't put
That's
it
what I
together
meant.
in the
That's
sense
what I
that
meant.
did Hannah Busoni and Tom Frost and Peggy Dufour and Jack Roman of the Baldwin Company. And, you know, Otto Luning will be the special guest.
Fabulous man with a fabulous sense of humor.
Oh, one of the great Americans. And
Who's playing on this?
Well,
by the way?
John Salmon is doing the Carmen Fantasy. The great Stanley Drucker, clarinetist,
wonderful.
is going to be doing the elegy for clarinet and piano with Zadie Parkinson at the piano. Mario Fenninger is flying in from the West Coast, and he's playing some world premieres. There's going to be a scene from Dr. Faust with a piano accompaniment, but Louis Edward Smart is the bass, and the Goethe leader will be Richard Frisch, and Richard Good will be at the piano accompanying that baritone, and the toccata is a wonderful piece. David Buchner, Paula Robeson, and James Tocco will be heard in an Albumblatt for flute and piano, and Tocco will be heard in the second sonatina of Busoni, and after there'll be 2 intermissions, by the way, because this is from 7 to 10, and then Arnold Steinhardt, famous violinist, and famous pianist Ruth Loreto will play the very wonderful Violin Sonata, Opus 36 of Busoni. I will talk about Busoni a little and interview Otto Luning and introduce the works. And it's going to be Symphony Space, which is 2537 Broadway at 95th Street, New York, 10025. The box office is 864-5400. And it's open from 3 to 7. Isn't this a great plug for it?
Oh, it's a great plug.
I hope it's successful, because for a long time I have been working on championing, in a little way, Busoni's music.
I know that, and as a matter of fact, on one of our previous recordings, I had even done a piece of Busoni's that you had picked out for me to do.
Yes, and when I tell you, you didn't just do it, it is one of the finest performances on record of Busoni. It's the Greensleeves Elegy.
Right, I appreciate that.
I only wish you were playing on this program.
Well, I wish I was going to be here, but I'm sure everybody else is going to enjoy this rather varied and a program with many illustrious people.
Yes, it's the Busoni Foundation presenting a Busoni Festival, 1985, Sunday, April 21st, 1985, 7 to 10, and it's at Symphony Space. Tickets are $10, and $5, and the proceeds are for the benefit of the Busoni Foundation, which really works hard to make these performances happen. and I'll be right back with more music and discussion with Stanley Waldoff. This is David Dubal, and we are listening to our new waltz album on Musical Heritage what?
7107H.
7107H.
These numbers are very important. I forget them all the time. I know this one because I'm looking at it.
Well, I certainly hope I get a few more copies soon.
I hope so, too.
Okay.
This one's getting a little beaten up.
Now, tell me, are you satisfied with this album in the sense of your own playing? Let's be very honest right now.
Well, every time you make a recording, and there's a lapse of time, as we all know, between the time you make it and then you edit it and then it comes out, you have this fear. What is it really going to sound like? Did I hear what I thought I heard? And in most cases, you probably did, but there's always that fear. And then, of course, as you said earlier, there's always that, well, I would have done this differently now, or I might have taken more time here, less time here, would have done this slower, would have done this faster. But basically, I think you just have to remember that it was what it was at that moment, and that it turned out as well as you could have expected.
Yeah.
I think you have to be sensible. That's what I'm trying to say.
I know you're talking very sensibly, but I know that you may not hear this record again for 2 years.
I may not ever hear it again. I mean, and that's just the way it is. When I listen to these records that we make together, I don't usually listen to my side. I listen to your side. I have a pretty good understanding of what I've done, and I really don't want to. I mean, it's like looking at an old photograph. You look at it occasionally, but it doesn't really hold that kind of interest.
And are you glad you've done it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad that it's, as they say, in the can.
Well, we've done a lot of obscure composers with a lot of, I think, worthy music.
Well, they may be obscure, but I certainly don't think we've done any bad music.
In fact, you're so well known here that Sedgwick Clark said, "Oh, Mr. Thalberg," because of one of the pieces you recorded.
Right. That's
by Sigmund Thalberg.
Yeah, it was a great piece too.
Well, what are your other plans now? Right now, you're practicing for a recital in Mississippi, in Hattiesburg. You're doing hardly an obscure work on that. I know I'm going to hear right after our program. I'm going to hear you play, as you asked me to take the time out and hear you play the Moonlight Sonata.
That's correct. I've always loved that piece, and I finally had an excuse to learn it and play it.
Nobody plays it anymore.
I mean, I suppose it's embarrassing to say I love the Moonlight Sonata, but it isn't really, because it's just an incredibly beautiful and perfect piece of music.
Oh, yes.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
The slow movement is so wonderful.
What did Liz call this slow movement?
A flower between two abyss.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect. As a matter of fact, the next piece we're going to hear is a little Liszt piece that you recorded. Am I correct?
Yes, a forgotten waltz.
How many were there? How many?
4.
So I always like to test you, because once there's going to be some point I'm going to make you make a mistake on the air.
Oh, I make many mistakes. In fact, someone once said, when I said, "Oh, I made a mistake," this person said, "Well, it's your mistake. Treasure it." Why not, treasure your mistakes? However, on recordings, they're not fun, because in a live performance, you can. It evaporates instantly. Who cares about a wrong note, this and that?
Right.
But on a record, it does become disturbing. And in a way, this is what has happened in the homogenization of playing, because people have not taken chances on recordings, because you know what? They don't sound good.
That's true. And the problem, of course, is that in a concert hall, of course, one is only left with an impression.
Yes.
But that's not true with a recording. One is left only with detail.
And everything that is not to your liking, or if there's a wrong note, or the chord is not voiced right, you will hear that again and again, and it will just erode the piece for you.
Drives you crazy.
Well, let's see if I can be now driven crazy in the Valse Oubliée No. 1 of Franz Liszt, composed in 1881, and perhaps the enigmatic title finds the old abbé pausing over an amorous moment from his past. It ends not in the tonality it begins.
This is David Dubal's performance of Valse Oubliée by Franz Liszt.
Thank you, Stan.
That was David Dubal's performance of a Liszt Valse Oubliée No. 1 on an MHS recording, Invitation to the Waltz Volume 1. This is Stanley Waldoff, and now I'm going to give the show back to its owner.
Oh, you've done very well. Tell us the record number so we can all buy it.
7107H.
After all, the royalties we make are just
stupendous. Stupendous.
Stan, we now come to really one of the most wonderful waltz transcriptions, paraphrase, of course, really. Possibly the most famous of all Johann Strauss waltzes is the beautiful Blue Danube. And tell me about what you have recorded here, because it's really an extravaganza.
Well, this is the Adolf Schulz-Evler transcription, made famous by the great, legendary pianist Joseph Levine, who often used it for an encore. As a matter of fact, I think there's stories where he just finally got sick. People used to scream for it all the time. Anyway, I don't think many people know that Adolf Schulz-Evler, who was a friend, I think, of Levine's, and indeed wrote this transcription. I mean, I don't know. I seem to have read that somewhere. Anyway, he was certainly mortalized by Mr. Levine. He was born in 1852, and he died in 1905. When was Mr. Levine born? Do you know?
Yes, 1873.
So
of course, it's my business to know every date in the world.
See. That's possible then, because Mr. Levine would have been 32 years old when Adolf
may
Schulz
have known him.
Anyway, it's an absolutely marvelous transcription, and I've always loved hearing Mr. Levine play this work on record. And now...
well, I think now...
I guess we're going to hear this.
I should introduce you.
Right.
It's hard, isn't it? First of all, this is not an easy piece to put together, and I think that you really saw this. Well, let me say what I like about your performance.
Only say what you like.
Yeah. You, of course, have a very big piano technique, and I think that you wanted very much to take this piece very seriously. It's often played a little too trashy for your taste, and you wanted to respect it, so to speak, and I think you have. You have really put this together as an architect.
Well, first of all, let me say that nobody can play it like Mr. Levine played it. I mean, he was inimitable.
Well, there are people already that have said, I don't know if they're just trying to flatter you,
probably,
but that this is even more poetic in certain areas.
Well, of course, Mr. Levine was working under a small handicap. I think that was recorded for a 78, so, I mean, there was a time problem and all that. In any event, what point, it seemed to me, would it have made to attempt to do it in the same way that Mr. Levine did it when he did it? So, I mean, I have my own way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's not that different, but it is different.
Well, it is. And let's hear it's called, its official title, Concert Arabesques on Themes by the Beautiful Blue Danube by Johann Strauss, the transcriber Adolf Schulz-Evler.
Johann Strauss the Younger.
Yes. And Stanley Waldoff is the pianist. You have just heard Stanley Waldoff in the great waltz paraphrase on the Beautiful Blue Danube by Adolf Schulz-Evler on a Musical Heritage Society recording called Invitation to the Waltz, Volume 1, which I did side 1, and Stanley Waldoff did side 2, and you just heard him play the Schulz-Evler, and it's Musical Heritage 7107H, and if you would like to own it, I think you could easily get it at 1710 Highway 35, Ocean, New Jersey 07712. That's the Musical Heritage Society. And, I think we should say a word about them, because this is a company that is really quite unbelievable in the classical world. They do more, really, in the long run than anyone, because they believe in repertoire that needs to be recorded, and they believe in us. And as you know, we've had a wonderful association, Stan, with Jeffrey Nissim and Robert Nissim, who are really the forces behind it.
Right, two really amazing guys. I just have, as you know, all kind of love for this company, because they do interesting products, and they do products the right way. And also, I might add that instead of just writing to them, you might want to write and become a member of the Musical Heritage Society.
Yes. Because they have their monthly magazine.
2,500 or 3,000 records in print. I don't know. It's just phenomenal.
Well, it's extraordinary. We have seen those shelves. They're the most amazing.
Million records we've seen.
Anyway, the Musical Heritage Society is a unique company in this world.
Certainly is unique in the sense of the records that do well stay in print, and that's more than one could say for the other major record companies, where things come out and they last a month and they go right into the vault.
Yeah, well, we've been in print a long time, and we hope to be with them a long time. This was Invitation to the Waltz, Volume 2. You're working on Volume 1. You're working on Volume 2 now.
Yeah. Again, we would like to, I think, thank them. Thank Musical Heritage Society for all they've done for us.
Well, everyone there has been wonderful. Fred Bashur and
Robert Nissim, Jeffrey Nissim.
Stan, it was good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a year, and I'm glad we've had a chance to listen together to our album.
Absolutely, and it's always a pleasure seeing you, and hopefully next time we'll have another album to talk about.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
This is David Dubal, and thank you for listening.